I'd like to welcome Michael to my channel. He is the CEO of Blocklancer, which is a distributed autonomous job marketplace, and that operates on the Ethereum blockchain. Thanks for coming on, Michael.
Thank you.
So let's start by having you explain to everybody a little bit more about what Blocklancer is.
Yes, of course. And I think the best way to describe Blocklancer is by showing up the problems that are solved by Blocklancer. And in these traditional freelancing platforms like, for example, Upwork or Freelancer.com, these platforms are not very transparent at all. And moreover, these platforms have very high fees, about 10%. 10% is normal on these platforms. And additionally, these platform providers have lots of power. For example, they can shut down users if they want without any reason. And Blocklancer solves these problems by being a decentralized platform and giving the power back to the freelancers and the clients. And another problem that is solved by Blocklancer is the dispute resolution system. On these traditional platforms, if you have a dispute with your client, for example, then the dispute is handed over to the platform providers, and then you don't really know how the provider will solve this dispute. And often you also don't know when this decision will be done at all. This means that you are waiting for a decision from them, but you don't know when you will get the decision. And on Blocklancer, we solve it this way, that the community of the token holders is solving the disputes between clients and freelancers. And the token holders will get rewarded for doing so. And so this means that we have some kind of crowd wisdom within Blocklancer. And to sum up, Blocklancer is a decentralized freelancing platform with autonomous dispute settlement. And on the traditional platforms, you just have two roles. You have the freelancers and the clients. But on Blocklancer, there are three roles. You have the freelancers, the clients, and the token holders. And these token holders will get rewarded for solving the disputes, as mentioned before. And yeah, the real centerpiece of Blocklancer is this so-called token holder tribunal. This is this dispute resolution system which we built. And in this tribunal, as I mentioned before, these token holders settle disputes between clients and freelancers, and they will get a reward for doing that. And yeah, this means that this token holder tribunal is an incentive system. And yeah, and we also analyze this system game theoretical in our yellow paper. Everybody can find it on our webpage, blocklancer.net. And well, in a yellow paper, we show that the token holder tribunal is incentivizing well behavior of the token holders. Well behaving means that the token holders put lots of effort in solving the disputes. And bad behavior, like, for example, random, they don't really put effort in this dispute resolution system, is discouraged by the system. And yeah, as I mentioned, we have this mathematical proof that the system works correct. And for us, it's also very important to not be a just white paper ICO, because yeah, I think we have enough from them. And therefore, we already built an alpha version, and everybody can sign up for it and check it out. And as you can see in our alpha version, we also focus on building a platform that is very simple to use for everybody, because we want to be an entry point to the crypto space also for people who are not involved in crypto at the moment.
Yeah, I think that's really important to incentivize people to use it. I mean, so that they're doing the right thing and that they have, insurance in it. They have reason to believe that the disputes are going to be settled fairly, and they also have reason to solve them fairly because they're invested in it. So that's definitely important. I like the fact that you brought on another, a third party to help kind of resolve these disputes in a decentralized way. So you state that your vision is making the freelance market easier, safer, and more transparent. So what gave you the idea or made you want to start this project in the first place?
Yeah, I myself worked as a freelancer on these traditional platforms when I was a student. And I personally was really discouraged by them because of the lack of transparency, as I mentioned before, and these tremendous fees. Yeah, and because of that, I decided that I want to change something in this system. And then I came to the blockchain tech and Bitcoin and Ethereum and everything. And then I decided, or I found out that this freelancing market is a perfect use case for blockchain tech. And therefore, we built Blocklancer.
Well, that's interesting. I like to hear from teams that they found a problem or they came across an issue, prior to getting involved in crypto, and they started their project because they wanted to help solve a problem. Because it's similar to what I did with my channel, whereas I found that there wasn't a lot of information out there for people that was entry level and helpful, and so I made it. So I value teams like you guys that find a problem and you want to help resolve it because it's going to be beneficial for everyone, because that's very important. So why did you choose the Ethereum blockchain as your platform? Are you worried at all about the increasing use of the network and the effect that they may have on speed?
We chose Ethereum because it is the most used system at the moment. And Ethereum is by far the largest community right now. But of course, I'm also concerned with the security issues of Ethereum. But I hope that the developers of Ethereum will solve these problems. And I think we already go in the right direction with Casper coming up and sharding and plasma. And yeah, of course, if one day there is a platform for Blocklancer, we are also open to move Blocklancer to another blockchain, like, for example, EOS or Neo or whatever.
That's good, though, to keep an open mind about possibly needing a different platform in the future, because, as you said, right now, Ethereum is definitely the most popular and the one that's most used, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it won't, it will be in the future, or maybe something else will take it over and be more efficient. But I do hope that Ethereum is successful because there's a lot of really good projects that are building on it now. So that's pretty important. So why is the new token needed for your project rather than just using Ether?
Yeah, token is needed for the incentive system, as mentioned before, this token holder tribunal. And the token holders are staking these tokens on the platform. And the more tokens they hold, the higher will be the reward for them. And this way, the token holders have something on stake. And therefore, they are interested in the long-term success of the platform. And yeah, I think that's a perfect use case for it.
Oh, that's cool that you built, your own token to be on the platform, to have something to power and to incentivize people. It's a good take on it. So let's talk about the ICO that you're currently running. I see you've raised almost 5,000 ETH and you've had over 3,000 participants. That's pretty impressive. So do you feel optimistic about the rest of the ICO?
Yeah, I feel very optimistic at the moment. And our team is working very hard. And we have still more than 2 weeks to go. And I think it's still possible to also reach the hard cap.
Very cool. So you said it ends in a little bit over 2 weeks?
Exactly.
All right, good. So that gives people enough time to get involved then. I noticed that there are different stages with varying bonuses available. Would you want to go into a bit of detail about that?
Yes. Of course, we want to incentivize people who joined the ICO earlier. And so we have created these stages. And the early bird stage was from 0 ETH to 3,000 Ether. And then we have the current stage, the early hamster stage. And this stage is from 3,000 Ether to 6,000 Ether. And then we have this early panda stage. It's from 6,000 Ether to 9,000 Ether. And then we have the early snail stage. That's from 9,000 Ether until the hard cap is reached. In the stage, we had a bonus of 15,000. You got 15,000 Lancer tokens for 1 Ether. Then in the current stage, in the early hamster stage, you get 14,000 Lancer tokens for 1 Ether. And then it's decreasing by 1,000 Lancer tokens at each stage. And the lowest stage is in the early snail stage. It's 12,000 Lancer tokens for 1 Ether.
I like that you guys added bonuses. It makes it a little bit more interesting, and it's a little different than what other people have been doing. What is the cap on the circulating supply for your token?
We will sell tokens worth $10 million US, and this will be about 162 million. But it depends on the market price of it.
So what I can see from your roadmap is that you've been meeting all of your deadlines, which is very important and very good. But the next one is running a stable version of the platform on the Ethereum testnet. So do you foresee any issues or hurdles in accomplishing that?
Not really. The main parts are already built. And the most crucial work will be to test the platform very intensively so that we will not have any bugs in the system, because we don't want to be hacked like this parity wallet hack. Because if the platform is really running, then there is lots of money involved in the system. So the system must be really safe and secure to use.
I'm glad to hear that you guys take the security seriously, because there's definitely been a lot of unfortunate situations with projects and money getting stolen and all kinds of things going on. So it's good to be, serious or take that very seriously. What problems do you currently see in the freelancing landscape that you think Blocklancer will solve?
As mentioned earlier, I think the centralized platforms are really a problem at the moment, because these platforms have just too much power. And I think that the right way will be to make it decentralized. And this is exactly the thing what we are doing here at Blocklancer.
Yeah, I think that in the serious space between the amount that you're charging for fees and most platforms are charging for fees, I think is definitely one of the bigger differences, and definitely something that's very important and is a pro or strength for you guys for sure. So I found 2 projects, Kenya and Ethlance, which are aiming to do something similar. So what sets you apart from those projects?
Kenya is aiming to bring freelancers together locally. Blocklancer, on the other hand, is more a global and digital platform. On Blocklancer, there will be jobs that can be done remotely, like, for example, programming or graphics design or texting something or translations. And Eflance is around for quite a while. They are trying to do something similar like Blocklancer. But I think the interface is too complicated to use for most users. And moreover, Eflance does not have a system like this token holder tribunal, and they have not really a way to solve disputes between clients and freelancers.
Yeah, this dispute resolution is certainly a big thing, which I mentioned earlier. Having the confidence of using a platform knowing that your best interest is protected and that things are going to be solved and resolved in a way that it's going to be fair. So I think that's certainly sets you guys apart. Besides those, can you think of any other major competitors? And if so, if you can, what makes you different from them?
Yeah, major competitors will be these traditional like for freelancers.com. And we are different from them. Yeah, obviously we are built on a blockchain, and they are not built on a blockchain. They are running on centralized servers. And I think many things will depend on whether the crypto space will go mainstream or not. Because if the crypto systems will become mainstream, then these traditional platforms will have problems to adopt, because it's not really possible for them to change their business plan to a decentralized business plan. And therefore, I think if the crypto space will become dominant, then we have great chances to become stronger than this old system.
Yeah, you make a good point. I mean, really, in order for all of these really interesting, awesome projects like you guys to take flight and do really well, crypto definitely has to be adopted on a wider scale for people to use these kinds of applications and these platforms that are getting designed. So does Blocklancer plan to provide freelancers with invoice and accounting documents?
No, freelancers and clients will have to do this on their own. And that is also a part of being a decentralized platform.
No, I agree with you there. That you make a good point. In the Bloomberg article that you guys were mentioned in, which I'll leave the link in the description, so if anybody wants to see it, it'll be there. It's stated by 2027 that the majority of the US workforce will be freelancing. However, you guys are based out of Austria. So how do you predict the workforce will change out there?
I mean, I think that the development in Europe is similar to the development in the US, but I think the development in Europe is much slower compared to the US.
I'm surprised because I always feel as though Europe is more progressive, and that US kind of lags a little bit in that sense. So I was surprised to see that in the article that they mentioned the US kind of heading the forefront here with that. But I guess you learn something new every day. So do you guys have any notable partnerships or possibly some in the works that you're excited about?
Yes, we have partnerships with Starbase and the TICE network and Micromoney. And of course, we are always working on new partnerships, because I think it's very important at this stage to work together, because the crypto space is still very young. And I think that if great projects work together, we can be much stronger in the future.
Oh, I agree with you. There's definitely strength in numbers, and reaching out to other reliable teams, creating partnerships, and sort of creating a web that you guys all work together. I think that's a very good idea. And for sustainability and long-term success, I think it's really important. So I signed up for the Alpha Blocklancer site, and I liked that the navigation of the site was very user-friendly and cut and dry, which you had mentioned was something that was a priority for you guys, was to make sure that it wasn't overly complicated. I also like the idea of the tribunal where you can do the community disputes and settle the disputes. It's a really good hands-off approach in order to keep the platform honest. So how did you come up with that idea for the tribunal?
And yeah, because I was confronted with these problems myself, because as mentioned before, I worked as a freelancer when I was a student. And yeah, when I started using Bitcoin and doing my research with blockchain technology, then I noticed that this freelancing market can be disrupted by the blockchain tech. Because I think it's really a perfect use case for blockchains.
No, I definitely agree with you. Again, the settling hands-off disputes and having people have faith in the system and the platform as a whole is very important. So my next question is about the Lancer token, which is also called LNC. So do you have to buy those in order to participate on the platform, or can you use Blocklancer with Ethereum?
It is possible to use the platform without the Lancer token. The Lancer token is just needed for staking and then participating in this token holder freeware. But the platform, at the platform, you pay with Ether.
Oh, okay. And I like the idea that you're incentivizing participants to hold LNC by incorporating a leveling system into the platform. So you level up and you get badges, but can you explain to me the point behind leveling up and what the rewards are?
You increase your level on the platform, and therefore you gain credibility, because the level and the badges is shown in your profile. And if a freelancer shows in his profile that he is working very hard in the dispute settlement system, then he can show that he has expertise in his fields, and therefore it's also a sign of the abilities of the freelancer or the client.
I like that idea, building a rapport and building reputation prevents new people from joining the platform and trying to go in and, vote in a way that doesn't support the platform or isn't helpful. So that's good that, honest contributors will be rewarded. So are there any exchanges that you're interested in getting the token listed on after the ICO?
Yeah, and currently we are negotiating with lots of exchanges. And I think that my favorite exchange at the moment is, for example, KuCoin. And yeah, we will try to get listed there or somewhere else, of course.
It's funny that you mentioned KuCoin, because when I started in crypto, like a little over a year ago, Bittrex and Poloniex were the main exchanges that people used, and now Binance and KuCoin are the ones that are taking over. So it's good that you guys are planning on sticking with the ones that are more popular and kind of keeping up with what's new, because I know that KuCoin has a good reputation, a pretty good following. So that's a good choice for you guys. So I must say that your business plan was very straightforward and transparent. In particular, your SWOT analysis was also very honest. So based on that and what you wrote down, what would you consider your biggest weakness to be right now?
Yeah, I think the biggest weakness right now is that the whole crypto space is still very young, and everything is still developing at the moment. And yes, because of that, at the moment we also depend on scaling solutions, for example, as we mentioned before. And I think if all these low-level problems will be solved one day, then I think our future could be really bright.
No, I agree with you. As we had mentioned before, the success of crypto as a whole dictates the success of other projects, and it's very important. You're right. So kind of going off that, which is probably going to bleed into this question, where do you see the project in a year?
I hope that in a year we will have lots of users on the platform, of course. And I also hope that Blocklancer will become an entry point into the crypto space for many users. Because I really need much more of these simple to use platforms which can be an entry point to the crypto space.
Yeah, I agree with you. Again, as I had said before, the reason I started this channel was for the same purpose, to give people a stepping stone and make crypto just a little bit less intimidating. And I think taking normal things like freelance and work and stuff that people are looking for and making it crypto based and making it easy to understand and easy to use is a great way to get people involved. And, in order for crypto to be widely adopted, we need much more new users and, an influx of new people. So having a platform like what you're designing is going to help bring those people in. So I'd like to thank you for coming on my channel. Are there any parting words that you would like to leave the community with, or any final things that you'd like to add?
Yes, of course. At first, I thank all listeners, and I hope that it was interesting for everyone who listened. And I would be very happy if some of you check out our white paper, yellow paper, and of course also our alpha version. You can find everything on blocklancer.net, and I would be happy if many users visit us and have a look.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will leave the links to all the social media and any of the important sites in the description so you guys can check it out. And I hope that you will. Again, Michael, I want to thank you, and I wish your group and your project much success this year.
Thank you very much. Thank you.